Do your homework on Big Devil. He got one of them names, boy, that keep you up at night. YouTube. What's the deal, man? What's happening with y'all, man? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another video, man. I go by Done. It's your first time rocking in, man. Make sure you rock in, rock out. Just rock with the kid, you feel me? Anyway, we back, bro. We back on the second reaction channel, man. We back in Cali. You did what I'm saying. And, man, we got to talk about this Rolling 60 CRIP, bro. I mean, the name says it all, bro. The name says it all, dog. You feel what I'm saying? And if y'all ain't heard about him, bro, we talking about Big Devil. This nigga name was Big Devil. You know what I'm saying? Do your homework on Big Devil. He got one of them names, boy, that keep you up at night. For sure. So, yeah, man, we're going to tap into the devil, man, see what he got going on, man. Shout out to Kelly, man. You know what I mean? Y'all make sure y'all sub my dog boys in the hood TV. Make sure y'all tap in over here, man. You know what I mean? And, yeah, we're going to tap right into the content. Let's get it.
We cut from a different cloth. Get up close to the person and do your business.
Welcome to Boys in the Hood TV. Today we're going to be discussing the life of Big Devil from the Rolling 60s.
That's his sound effect, for sure.
A Big Devil was born Pierre Roman in 1964 in Los Angeles. He and his brothers, Dre and Reggie, will be raised by a single mother after their father left him at the age of 5. Now, as a kid, Pierre would attend St. Celia Catholic School. Now, later in 1976, at the age of 12, Pierre's mother will move them to 59th Place, located in the Rolling 60 CRIP neighborhood, specifically the area which would soon be known as the Gutter Ave. Now, his mother would not allow him or his brothers to attend any public schools, but only private schools. And by 1978, Pierre would attend Holy Cross Middle School for his 7th and 8th grade year. Now, living in the Rolling 60s neighborhood, Pierre would become friends with a lot of teens who were either affiliated or actual members of the 60s. Now, he and his brothers, because they were wearing uniforms, they will get picked on every single day and sometimes robbed and even jumped by rival gangs.
Like this so crazy, bro. And I bet it probably go on today. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got nincompoops who family can't afford to send them to private school, or who family don't even care enough to even know what they're doing in school, and they picking at the kids who parents care. You know what I'm saying? Like, how stupid is that? I mean, as a child, you don't really understand how stupid it is, but like me, like as an adult, it's like basically like, your mom and dad care about you. Oh, your mom and dad want you to get a better education. They don't want you to die in the streets. That's crazy.
While walking home from school, now around 1979, Pierre would start attending Bourbon Day High School in Watts, which was an all-boys Catholic school. Now, he would be bused all the way there and back every single day. But later in that year, the war between the Rolling 60s and the A-Tray gangster Crips would break out. Now, although he was going to school in Watts, far away from the war, every day after school, he would be on the block every chance that he got to kick it with his friends whenever his mother was at work. Now, eventually, Pierre will graduate high school, and he would choose to enlist into the Air Force. Now, while in the Air Force, he would become a military police officer.
Now, I ain't gonna count now. Shout out to the Air Force, bro. Nah. I ain't saying you gotta be the brightest crayon in the crayon box to get in the Air Force, but you really can't be the darkest either, bro. Oh, you smelled me. So the fact that he got accepted into the Air Force, bro, that's very dope, bro.
And said to be a distinguished marksman, but only after 4 years, he would be honorably discharged in 1986. Now, Pierre would come home in the...
Hey, check this, dude. And I know I keep stopping it, my bad, gang, but man, I be having thoughts, right? And I wanna holler at y'all, bro. I mean, we could get up here and watch it, and then I could turn it off, but I wanna holler at y'all, cause I be having questions, right? And the question I got is how do you get an honorable discharge from the military? what I'm saying? Like, what is an honorable discharge? You dig what I'm saying? Like, I mean, I can almost guess what a dishonorable discharge is, but like, how can you get an honorable discharge? You feel me? Like, cause a lot of people be saying that, like, I was honorably discharged from the military. You know what I'm saying? Like, what, they just passing them out like candy at a 2-year-old birthday party, or like how do you get it? My military people, tap in, let me know.
Midst of the 80s gang violence, which was on a surge in South Central. But instead of falling victim to the gang violence, he would decide to put his military skills to use and get a job working at a local car wash as a security guard. But during his downtime, he would kick it in the set with the homies from the 60s every chance that he got. Now, doing this small security job at the car wash, he wasn't making a lot of money. So Pierre decided to apply for a job at the LAPD to become a police officer due to his background being an officer in the Air Force. Now, at the time, Pierre was hanging out with a lot of people from the streets, whether it be from the 60s or known dope dealers in the area. Now, in the summer of 1987, Pierre and his homie Watts will be out celebrating the Los Angeles Lakers winning the 1987 NBA championship. Now, Pierre had his Corvette, and his homie Watts was driving his 300 Nissan. Now, Watts would end up losing control of his car and accidentally swerving into Pierre's Corvette, totaling it. Now, with Pierre's car totaled, he would start driving around in his sister-in-law's white Mustang. Now, only weeks later, Pierre would make a decision that would change the course of his life forever. On June 29th, at around 2 a.m., Pierre, along with his homeboy named DeJuan Dixon, who was a known member of the Rolling 60s, will be driving down Highland Avenue in Pierre's sister-in-law white Mustang. Now, as they passed a popular local nightclub, across the street was a 21-year-old aspiring DJ by the name of Jay Clark, along with his friend named Philip, who was also a known DJ. Now, Jay Clark had just got a custom 1984 Nissan 300ZX, which was gifted to him by his uncle. But this night, both Clark and Philip wanted to go out and celebrate and kick it with some females. So they decided to wait across the street in the parking lot for the girls to show up before deciding to go inside. Pierre and Dixon would spot that Nissan, which looked exactly like his homie Watts, who had just crashed his only weeks prior. Both men would then make their way towards the Nissan. And that's when Pierre would yank open the driver's door, aiming a loaded revolver at Jay Clark. He would immediately start demanding that Clark get out of the car. And Clark would slowly start reaching for his handgun, which was under his seat.
Hold on, am I understanding this right? He let his homie drive one of his cars. His homie made a mistake and ran into him and totaled his Corvette. So he saw his homie. He thought this is crazy here. This is confusing, bro. So he thought old buddy in the Nissan 300 was his homie. So what? He thought his homie had went and bought a new car or something.
While in the process of doing this, that's when Pierre would start trying to pull Clark out of the car with his free hand. But Dixon would then run over to the passenger side and pull out Philip, but Philip will be able to get away and start running. He would then hide in a near alleyway. And out of nowhere, suddenly, multiple shots could be heard. Both Pierre and Clark would exchange gunfire at a close distance. Nearly 6 shots would be let off.
Dang.
Jay Clark will be found hit multiple times as his body lay slumped over the center console. Both Pierre and Dixon would take off running, heading back down to Citrus Street, hopping back into the Mustang and fleeing the scene. Now, Philip and other witnesses nearby would immediately run back to Clark, who they would find inside the car convulsing. Someone nearby would call 911, and police and EMTs would arrive shortly on scene, and they would rush Clark immediately to the hospital. But only 1 hour later, Jay Clark would be pronounced dead from his injuries. Now, the autopsy report would show that Clark had been shot 4 times, once in his hip, thigh, lateral part of his chest, and 1 straight shot was tore through his heart, which was the fatal shot. Now, it will also show that he had been hit with either a .357 or a .38. Now, detectives would arrive on scene to recover Clark's gun and 1 expended bullet, which was near the rear tire of the car. Now, forensics would find fingerprints on the passenger side window of the car. As the police continued to canvass the area, multiple witnesses would come forward to speak with the officers at the scene. 1 witness would tell officers that he saw 2 men, 1 armed with a gun, wearing a blue jacket, running down Citrus Avenue while fleeing in a white Mustang. Now, this would lead officers
Got him. Got him.
To going to Citrus Avenue and discovering tire marks on the street. Now, during this investigation, forensic testing would show that the bullet shot from Clark's gun had blue fibers of clothing attached to it, also with specks of blood. Now, 2 weeks later, fingerprints results would come back in, matching Dwayne Dixon. They would immediately go out and detain and question Dixon. Now, during questioning, Dixon would tell officers that he was at the club that night and he heard the shooting and he came outside and he may have or may not possibly have touched the car after examining what took place. But due to lack of evidence,
I ain't gonna lie, bro. That's a good story though. He was quick on his feet with that one.
they would release Dixon. Now, only a few weeks later, police would meet with an informant who would tell them that two men affiliated with the Rolling 60 Crips, Pierre Romain and DeJuan Dixon, who would be identified as both of the men involved in the murder of Jay Clark. Now, the informant would also notify the police that Pierre had been shot at the time of the attempted carjacking. And on July 28th, both Pierre and Dixon would be arrested in connection with the murder of Jay Clark. Now, that same day that Pierre was arrested, the police would execute a search warrant on his mother's home where he stayed at, and they would recover an empty gun holster along with multiple receipts from the Beverly Hills Gun Club. They would also recover a picture of Pierre posing in front of a white Mustang, which matched the description of the Mustang at the scene of the murder. Now, police would impound this Mustang, and they would determine that the tires from this Mustang did match the same tire marks that were found at the crime scene on Citrus Avenue. Now, while in custody, police would discover what looked like a gunshot wound on Pierre's right arm. Now, a doctor would determine that it looked like a through-and-through gunshot wound. But Pierre would tell officers during questioning that he had sustained an injury from the car accident 2 weeks ago while celebrating the Lakers championship. But ultimately, both Pierre...
Come on, gang. Shout out to Devil. You know what I mean? Shout out Pierre. I ain't gonna call him Devil. Even though he was the devil. He was the devil. I ain't gonna call him that, though. So you telling me you thought the police were gonna believe that your injuries show bullet wounds, right? And you thought they were gonna believe that you got hurt in your car accident that made you look like you got shot. Alright.
And Dixon would officially be charged with the murder. Now, while in custody, Pierre would officially get put on to the Rolling 60s and start going by Devil. Now, in October, during the preliminary hearing, it was discovered that the eyewitness Phillips, who was in the car the night that Clark was murdered, would be deemed unfit to testify. It will come to light that Phillips had admitted to seeing a hypnosis to help him remember the exact details the night of the shooting. And now with
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
No, he don't win it. He don't win it. He don't win the... Now, Philip, when I snap my fingers, you will quack like a chicken. Come on, man. This is crazy.
Philip taking off the case as an eyewitness, the case would then officially fall apart. And by December, both Pierre and Dixon will both be released, and the case against them will be officially dropped.
Dang.
Now, from this point on, Pierre, a.k.a. Devil, will be fully immersed into the gang life. He will become extremely active out in the streets. And in 1991, he would be arrested yet again, but this time for being in possession of a firearm. His name would now be profiled by the gang unit, and he would be officially listed as an active gang member of the Rolling 60s. Now, the streets of LA in the early 90s was a war zone, and the 60s was one of the largest black gangs in the city. They were in a lot of beef at the time. And Big Devil will become a known factor throughout the 60s. And in the summer of 1993, he will be arrested yet again for another murder. This time, they will have an eyewitness who would identify Devil as a shooter. But by September, during the preliminary hearing, the key witness would change his story completely, retracted his statement. Now, the DA believed that Devil had sent people to intimidate this witness, which led to the retraction of the statement. And eventually, this case will be dropped and Devil will walk away a free man. But by 1995, he still had that itch to have a career in law enforcement. So the first thing that he would do, he would start petitioning for a declaration of innocence on all of his cases, which he had either beaten or had been dismissed. Now, all charges would eventually end up being removed with the exception of the J. Clark murder because the detective on the case at the time had petitioned against it. And by 1998, he would become a sworn officer for the LA Air Force Base, in which he would excel in. Now, although he did have 2 murder charges and other charges on his rap sheet, the LA Air Force only did a minimum background check, and Devil had admitted to them of the murder charge, which he had dismissed. But most importantly, his employer saw his stellar record and background as a contracted security officer years prior. Now,
so Gang was really just a killer, right? He was really just a killer. He's okay.
2003, Devil would decide to apply to be a San Francisco police officer, which had a higher pay. But things would start going bad once they ran a background check on him and red flags would pop up. Now, the original detective on the case, Rick Jackson, would immediately be notified. And this would lead to him having the Clark case reopened, and he would get a warrant from a judge to get a DNA sample from Devil. Now, by the 2000s, the DNA forensics advancements had the ability to do things that were not possible in the 1980s, which was officially matching the blood or saliva samples to potential suspects. But not only did Rick Jackson get a DNA warrant, but he will also get a warrant for wiretaps on Devil's phone. Now, after the police collected DNA samples from Big Devil, he would immediately make a phone call to another member of the Rolling 60s, discussing about what just took place.
You know, they try to get a nigga saliva and shit to try to compare it to the, slide left on the bullet and shit. You know, it's going to be the same results from 17 years ago.
Now, only weeks later, the results of the test will come back in. DNA found on the bullet at the scene of the crime would match the Big Devil, and he would officially be arrested and charged with murder. Now, Big Devil will be given a bond of $1 million, but his attorneys will be able to have this bond lowered to only $500K. Now, the DA would try to fight it, but unfortunately, they were not successful. Now, while out, the DA would offer Devil multiple plea deals, only 6 years for manslaughter. But Big Devil was very confident that he would get no jail time. So over the next several years, he would use different legal tactics to stall out his trial date. But eventually, by 2017, the trial date will be set. Now, during his trial, multiple witnesses would come forward, including eyewitnesses from 1987 and even friends of Devil. Now, one friend of Devil's in particular, a man by the name of Glenn Tucker, would testify that Devil had given him multiple guns to hold, which included 2 revolvers and rifles. But he would later admit that he gave them back to Devil after his mother did not want those guns at her home. Now, Devil's brother Andre, his wife named Pamela, would also testify. Now, she would be called as a hostile witness because she had originally told the police that her late husband Andre had stated that Devil had been shot and that they needed her to come meet them. But later on, she would later retract those same statements. Now, the defense will argue that the DNA found was that of Devil's brother, Andre. Now, it will be later.
No, bruh. No, bruh. Come on, gang. Oh! I mean, your brother dead, so I get it. But god dang, bro. You gonna put that on your bro, like okay.
They're told to the court that his brother Andre had died in jail in 2011. Now, the defense would do something that is always risky, and that would be to put Big Devil on the stand. Now, Big Devil would deny being a member of the Rolling 60s at the time of the shooting and deny being anywhere near the club because he was at home waiting to receive a phone call about his application to becoming a police officer for the LAPD. Now, he would admit to later joining the Rolling 60s after spending his time in the county back in 1987. Now, he would also claim that the alleged gunshot on his arm was in fact not a gunshot, but was from his brother Andre, who stabbed him at a birthday party in 1987 after they got into a physical altercation. Now, the prosecution would argue that Devil was in fact a member of the Rolling 60 Crips at the time of the murder, and that they had targeted Clark because of his Nissan had looked exactly like his friend's Watt's Nissan, which he had crashed the night of the Lakers NBA championship celebration only weeks prior to the murder. but also they would make it clear.
I don't understand that though. Like, so they was going to take the car. Like, I don't get it. Like, I don't get it. This is crazy.
That Clark was wearing a red shirt in reference to a possible gang motive also. Now Phillips, who was originally disqualified as a witness originally in 1987, would now be reinstated by a judge at the request of the prosecution. Now, although Phillips never saw anyone face that night, he would state that they were in fact being carjacked by two people the night Clark was murdered. Now, the prosecution used Phillips just in case the defense tried to go the self-defense route. Now, ultimately, in the end, Pierre Romain, aka Big Devil, would be found guilty of first-degree murder of J. Clark.
In court today, Romain's defense attorney unsuccessfully argued the trial was unfair.
DNA on a projectile that could have come from Andre if Andre was wearing Pierre's clothes.
And sentenced Romain to 27 years in prison.
25 years to life for first-degree murder, an additional 2 years for personal use of a firearm, which the jury found to be true.
I would like to thank everybody for tapping in, and I will see y'all next time.
Dang, bro. Man, Big Devil did all that. He beat that joint a few times, but they still came back and got him. Like, murder must ain't got no statute of limitations on the game. That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking murder ain't got that. Like, you can pull a murder case back and see what's popping. But I don't think, like, I don't know, but the case was dismissed. Like, they never went to trial. It was dismissed. So if he would have beat it, then they couldn't have brought it back up. But since he didn't beat it, it was just dismissed. They reinstated it. Okay, I get it. I ain't Big Devil. I mean, with a name like the Devil, what did we expect? Oh! Anyway, though, Ma, let me know how y'all feel about it, though, folks, in the comment section down below, man. Don't forget to like, hype. Don't forget to subscribe. After subscribe, make sure you ring that bell. After y'all ring it up, though, make sure you hit all so you don't miss none of these bangers, man. And y'all already know, folks. It's a mob life or no life. Mob with nowhere. And how we coming. OTM, we get it out that mud every single day. I go by Don. I love y'all, man. I'm going to check in with y'all in the next video. Make sure y'all tap in with God, too. Let's rock and roll. You know we got the streets, nigga. We got the trap, too. I say my trap doing numbers. I just bust another jewel. Got a player around the corner, hey. I say my trap doing numbers like that 05 summer. Got a quarter